I still remember the smell of eucalyptus from my wedding bouquet. It had filled the room with something that felt clean, fresh, hopeful. That night, as I undressed from my gown, the scent lingered like a promise. The hem of my dress was stained with the dirt of the garden where we said our vows, but my heart was clean. Open, he cried when I walked down the aisle. His face crumpled the way it only does when something sacred touches you. He had always been good at crying. That was one of the things I loved about him. That softness, that honesty, or what I thought was honesty. The reception had blurred into fairy lights, toasts, laughter, fingers tangled in mine under the table. People kept saying how lucky I was, how real we seemed, how deep his love looked in his eyes. But there's a kind of silence that falls when truth shatters illusion. It's not loud, doesn't scream. It hums, low, guttural, like the electricity that flickers in a house just before a blackout. It was 2:14 a.m. I couldn't sleep. Too much adrenaline, maybe. Or maybe some part of me, some ancient primal instinct already knew. I picked up his phone from the nightstand. I had never done that before. We had a rule. Trust is sacred. But there was something in the way he had left it face down. The way he had gone to the bathroom with it tucked under his arm earlier. The slight tremble in his fingers when he'd said, "I'm so happy, babe. I love you so much." And there it was. A message, time-stamped at 11:53 p.m., while I was hugging my father goodbye at the venue. The wedding went well. She looked beautiful. "I'll always care for you." And just beneath it, a photo of a bouquet. Not mine. A receipt for a flower delivery. To her. Roses. With a card that said, "Thinking of you tonight." I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just sat on the edge of the bed, dress half unzipped, and stared at the words like they were written in fire. He came out of the bathroom, wiping his hands on a towel, smiling. "Babe, you okay?" I looked up at him, and he knew. His face went white, like all the blood had fled to hide from the truth. There was no denial, just silence, heavy, violent. The room felt cold suddenly. The air conditioner was off, but my arms were covered in goosebumps. The eucalyptus in my bouquet, once comforting, now smelled bitter, medicinal. The tears he shed walking down the aisle, were they ever for me? Or was I just the final performance in a story he never had the courage to end? And in that moment, surrounded by the remains of what should have been the happiest night of my life, a single question echoed louder than any vow. How do you rebuild a heart shattered by the very hands that swore to protect it? Next, I'll tell you how I got here, and why I didn't see it coming. They say love is blind, but maybe it's not blindness. Maybe it's selective vision. We don't refuse to see the truth. We just focus so hard on the parts we want to be real that everything else fades into soft blur. When I think back to the beginning, to our beginning, it plays like a film dusted in golden light. Mornings in bed, his arm draped lazily over my waist, the smell of coffee drifting in from the kitchen because he always woke up first, the way he used to tuck my hair behind my ear when I was talking, as if he couldn't stand anything getting in the way of his view of me. We were that couple. The ones people said looked like they belonged in a movie. We danced in the living room with no music. We sent long texts in the middle of the day, just to say, "Thinking of you." We shared a toothbrush once in a pinch, laughed about it for hours. He used to leave notes in my coat pockets. "You make life warmer. Lucky me. Don't forget how loved you are." We planned a future that felt solid. Not just dreamy talk. We had spreadsheets for our travel fund, picked names for our future dogs, and spent Sunday nights reading aloud to each other. We were building something. Least I thought we were. But even fairy tales have shadows. There were moments, tiny, quiet fractures, I didn't want to notice. Like how he'd flinch slightly when I'd ask about certain colleagues. How he stopped leaving his phone on the table during dinner. How once I walked into the room and his expression changed just a second too fast. I told myself it was nothing. I told myself I was being paranoid, jealous, insecure. All the words we used to gaslight ourselves in the name of love. After all, he was affectionate. He was present. He made plans. He cried when we watched emotional scenes in movies. He said, "I love you" every day, and meant it. Or at least I thought he did. There was one night, it comes back to me now like a whisper, when we were in bed and I asked him if he ever missed his past. He paused. Too long. Then he kissed my forehead and said, "You're my now. You're my always." I didn't realize it then, but he never actually answered the question. Looking back, it's not just the big lie that hurts. It's all the little truths I ignored to protect the illusion. Because love, real, deep, soul-bound love, is not just about what's said in candlelight. It's about consistency in the dark. It's about the quiet moments, the glances, the way someone makes you feel even when no one is watching. And he made me feel chosen. Every single. Even when maybe I wasn't the only one. When we got engaged, he cried. Dropped to one knee in front of my entire family. Said he couldn't imagine growing old with anyone else. I believed him. Course I did. He had that rare kind of warmth that melts away doubt. He made certainty feel like a person. So when I planned our wedding, I did it with a heart full of devotion. No hesitation. No plan B. I poured everything into that day, into us. And he stood there under the arch, eyes wet, hands trembling, telling me I was his forever. But sometimes, forever is just a word people say when they want to believe their own lies. I didn't see it then. I didn't see her. Not yet. Started slowly. At first, it was just a shift in rhythm. Like a song you've heard 1,000 times suddenly skipping a beat, but only once, barely enough to notice. A glance at the phone that lingered too long. A conversation cut short when I entered the room. A change in the way he touched me. Less spontaneous, more distracted. He began working late. Not constantly, not enough to raise alarm, just enough to build a pattern. Enough to say, "It's just this month, baby." The team stretched thin. I believed him. I wanted to believe him. Love does that. It teaches you to rationalize the irrational. But then came the distance. Emotional, not physical. His laughter still echoed in the apartment, but it felt delayed. Like it had to travel through something before reaching me. His texts grew shorter. Less playful. No more emojis. No more "I miss you already." One evening we were watching our favorite show. He was beside me, but his eyes weren't on the screen. They were fixed on his phone, thumb scrolling fast, stopping occasionally, typing, deleting, typing again. I asked gently, "Who are you texting?" He smiled, that smile that used to melt me. "Just work stuff, babe. Don't worry." And I didn't ask again. 'Cause I was afraid. Afraid of the answer. Afraid of becoming that woman. Suspicious, bitter, insecure. But love without truth is just fear in a pretty dress. And the signs kept coming. The cologne he never used before. The phone he started charging face down in the kitchen. The muted notifications. The way his voice changed when he said, "I love you." Rushed like a line he was reciting, not feeling. One night, I picked up his blazer from the couch. I wasn't looking for anything, just folding it. But something fell out of the pocket. A movie ticket. Dated 2 nights before. A theater we had never been to together. I stared at it for a long time. My fingers trembled. My chest tightened. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe he'd gone with a colleague, a friend. Maybe it was work. But then, why hadn't he mentioned it? That night I couldn't sleep. I lay beside him, watching his back rise and fall, trying to remember the last time he had reached for me in the dark. The last time he had said my name with tenderness. The last time he had made me feel seen. I felt like I was disappearing. Slowly, invisibly. And then came the message. I wasn't snooping. I swear I wasn't. His phone buzzed on the nightstand while he was in the shower. I saw the preview light up. Just a glimpse. Just enough. Can't stop thinking about last night. No name. No context. Just confirmation. Something inside me collapsed. I didn't confront him right away. Couldn't. I walked around with a hollow in my chest for days, pretending, smiling at dinners, laughing at his jokes, all while wondering, who is she? Does she know about me? Does she care? But worst of all was this question that haunted me. Am I not enough? I started watching myself like I was the problem. Did I stop being interesting? Did I love him too much? Not enough. Did I miss something? Some secret rule about how to keep someone? It was a kind of madness. Private, quiet unraveling. Because how do you accuse someone when you don't even know what you're accusing them of? And what if you're wrong? What if your fear is louder than your truth? Still deep down I knew. The man I had promised forever to was living a life I wasn't part of. A life I didn't recognize. A life that included someone else. And the more I tried to deny it, the more the truth clawed its way to the surface. Until it could no longer be ignored. I didn't leave him right away. I wish I could tell you I had the strength, that I packed my bags, threw the ring on the floor, and walked out with my dignity intact. But the truth is messier. The truth is, I stayed. Because I needed it not to be real. Because I still loved him. Because I thought love was enough to fix it. When I finally confronted him, it wasn't some dramatic showdown. No yelling. No slam doors. Just me standing in the kitchen, holding his phone in my hand. Heart pounding like it was trying to run away from my ribs. Who is she? He froze. Didn't speak for what felt like forever. Then softly. It's not what you think. Isn't that what they always say? He said it was emotional, not physical. He said it started as just someone to talk to when things got stressful. He said he felt seen, heard, understood. I wanted to scream. What about me? Wasn't I enough? Didn't I see you? Didn't I love every broken, beautiful piece of you? But I didn't scream. Cried. And he cried too. He said he regretted it. That he'd end it. That he wanted us. That it was a mistake, a lapse, a temporary detour on an otherwise perfect road. And I clung to those words like they were rope, like they could pull me out of the abyss. We went to bed that night holding hands. And I thought maybe we could find our way back. The next weeks were a strange kind of dance. He brought home flowers, cooked dinner, sent good morning texts again. And for a while it felt like he was really trying. But something had shifted. In him. Me. In the air between us. I started overcompensating. Waking up early to make his coffee. Dressing a little nicer. Laughing more at his jokes. Desperate to be the version of me he would never cheat on. I asked him questions I never used to. Do you still find me beautiful? Are you happy? Are we okay? He always answered yes. But the yes felt thinner now. Less rooted. Like smoke. And still, something didn't sit right. One night I saw his laptop open. He was in the shower. I wasn't looking for anything. Not consciously. But his email was up. And curiosity is a dangerous drug when trust is broken. There it was. A draft. Not sent, not deleted. I miss your mind. I miss your silence. I miss the version of me you saw. It wasn't addressed. But I knew. He hadn't let go. Not really. And that's when the doubt turned inward. Maybe I wasn't enough. Maybe I had smothered him. Maybe I had loved him too much. Maybe that's what drove him away. That's what betrayal does. It makes you forget who you are. You start blaming yourself for the poison they poured into your cup. But still, I stayed. We went on weekend trips. Posted smiling photos. Told friends we were working through things. We played house. Played healed. But every time he kissed me I tasted distance. Every time he held me, I wondered if he was thinking of her. The worst part wasn't the lying. It was the pretending, the slow erosion of reality. The way I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the woman staring back. A woman who used to trust. Who used to love without fear. Who used to believe in the good in him. And I kept asking myself again and again, is it braver to stay and fight? Or to walk away and bleed alone? Then came the day, the moment, when everything that was still holding me together cracked. The moment that made me realize, some love isn't lost, it's abandoned. And maybe I needed to stop saving what was never mine to keep. It was a Sunday morning. The kind of soft, quiet morning where the light spills through the curtains in lazy streaks, and the world feels slower, like it's holding its breath. I was standing in the kitchen barefoot, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. His favorite, dark roast, no sugar, just a little oat milk, was already steaming on the counter. He walked in, rubbing sleep from his eyes, hair tousled, wearing the t-shirt I used to sleep in before things got complicated. He kissed my cheek too quickly. I remember the smell of toast burning, the scraping sound of a butter knife on ceramic, the way the sun caught the corner of our wedding photo hanging on the wall. Everything looked so normal, but inside me something had gone still. I'd spent weeks trying to glue the pieces back together. Of us, of myself. I had swallowed pride, fear, rage, all in the name of love. But love without truth is just self-betrayal. And that morning I finally stopped lying to myself, because I had found the message. Again. New one. Different platform. Different time. Same betrayal. I wasn't even looking for it. It popped up as a preview on his iPad, synced from his phone. An image of her, lying in bed. His hoodie wrapped around her shoulders like a stolen promise. And beneath it, just 4 words. Wish you were here. The rage didn't come first. The first thing I felt was relief. Like I could finally stop pretending. I walked into the kitchen with the iPad still in my hand. Set it gently beside his coffee cup. His smile faded the second he saw the screen. He didn't say a word. Just stared at me. Eyes wide, guilt already blooming across his face like rot. I didn't shout. I didn't cry. My voice was calm, but it didn't feel like mine. I think you've been trying to love 2 people. And ended up lying to both. He opened his mouth, searching for excuses, maybe redemption. But I wasn't there for that anymore. I wanted to believe you, I said. So badly. Because I loved the version of you I thought was real. The man who held me at night. The man who cried when I walked down the aisle. But now I know he never really existed. Or maybe he did, but only for me. I didn't give him a chance to explain. Because some truths don't need explanations. They just need closure. I took off my ring, that delicate symbol of forever, and placed it beside the photo of our wedding day. His face beaming, mine lit up with blind trust. I didn't have to smash the frame. I just turned it face down. And then I walked out. No packed bags. No goodbye speech. Just my keys, my phone, and the first breath I had taken in weeks that didn't feel like drowning. My legs were shaking. My hands were ice. But something inside me, something old and buried, was waking up. The girl I used to be. The woman I was meant to become. I didn't look back. 'Cause what do you look back to, when the home you built was made of illusion? Outside the wind was sharp but honest. The street was empty. My heart was shattered, but suddenly so quiet. No more lies. No more noise. Just space. Space to grieve. Space to rebuild. Space to remember who I was before him. And as I turned the corner, away from the life I thought I wanted, I whispered, maybe to the sky, maybe to myself, you don't get to keep me, just because you broke me. The first night alone I couldn't sleep. The silence was unbearable. Too wide, too loud. I kept expecting to hear his keys in the door. His footsteps on the wood floors, the soft clink of his glass on the nightstand. My mind played tricks on me, reaching for the familiar even after I had let it go. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, wondering how something so solid could vanish so quickly. How someone could unravel a life in the space of a message. But grief isn't loud, not always. Sometimes it's quiet, methodical. It arrives with your toothbrush in a new drawer. With the ache in your throat when you see couples on the street holding hands. With the sting of deleting wedding photos. Not out of anger but mercy. I didn't bounce back. Broke. And then I rebuilt. Piece by piece. Minute by minute. Therapy saved me. Not in grand dramatic moments, but in soft, persistent truths. I sat on a couch across from a stranger who never judged me for staying too long or leaving too late. She asked the right questions. Not about him but about me. When did you stop listening to yourself? Whose love were you trying to earn? Who told you that being chosen meant you were worthy? I didn't have answers at first, but I kept going, and in time I found them. I began reclaiming rituals that were mine before us, reading in cafes alone, taking long walks with music that made me cry and breathe at the same time. I changed the apartment, got rid of the sheets we picked together, painted the walls a color he hated but I secretly loved. I stopped checking his social media, stopped checking hers too. Because healing isn't about erasing someone, it's about releasing the hold they have on you. I reconnected with old friends, the ones I had drifted from while being consumed by the relationship. They welcomed me back with open arms, no explanations needed. And then, slowly, found a new version of love. Not with someone else, not yet. With myself. The kind of love that isn't performance. That doesn't shrink to be accepted. That doesn't beg to be seen. I started journaling every night. Writing letters to the woman I used to be. Thanking her for surviving. Apologizing for not listening sooner. Forgiving her for believing in a dream that turned to dust. There were good days. And terrible ones. But even the bad ones felt honest. And that, in itself, was progress. Eventually, I stopped waking up thinking of him. I started imagining a future that didn't include his name. Not out of bitterness. Out of peace. I learned that healing isn't about vengeance. It's about boundaries. It's about knowing your worth so deeply, so profoundly, that no one can make you doubt it again. And somewhere along the way, I smiled again. Really smiled. Not for anyone else. Just because I remembered who I was before the pain. Before the lies. Before the flowers sent to another woman on our wedding night. And I knew. He broke a part of me. But he didn't break all of me. And the parts that remained. They were mine. Fierce. Tender. Unshakable. I used to think betrayal was the end of a love story. And in some ways it is. But not my story. Because what I've come to understand, in the quiet aftermath, in the spaces where grief used to live, is that betrayal is not just about someone walking away from you. It's about being forced to walk back to yourself. To the parts you abandoned while trying to hold something together that was never yours to carry alone. For a long time, I hated myself for not seeing the signs. For staying. For loving him more than I loved myself. But now, I've made peace with her. That version of me. She wasn't weak. She was hopeful. She believed. And there's no shame in that. There is so much noise around healing. So many voices telling you to move on, let go, forgive. But real healing is messy. Doesn't follow a script. Some days you'll feel powerful, whole, radiant. And the next, you might crumble at the sound of his favorite song in a grocery store aisle. That's okay. That's part of it. I used to think closure came from confrontation. From the other person finally saying they're sorry. But I never got that from him. Not really. What I got was silence. And in that silence, I finally heard myself. I learned how to set boundaries. How to say no without guilt. How to stop auditioning for someone else's love. I learned that the right person will never make you question your worth. Will never make you beg to be chosen. And now, when I look in the mirror, I see someone I trust again. Someone who didn't just survive, but rose. There are still scars. But they don't ache like they used to. They remind me that I've healed. And that I have the strength to never settle for half love again. And maybe the most important thing I've learned is this. You can forgive someone without inviting them back into your life. You can mourn what you lost. And still be grateful it's gone. To anyone listening, anyone who's been broken by the very person they trusted the most, I want you to know, you are not unlovable because someone failed to love you. You are not broken because they couldn't stay. You are not hard to love. You were just loving the wrong person too deeply. And now you get to love you. Fully. Fiercely. First. I'll never forget the moment I saw that message on our wedding night. How it stole the air from my lungs, the light from my world. But now, when I think of that night, I don't just see betrayal. I see a beginning. The beginning of me. So I ask you honestly, would you forgive someone who shattered your heart, while looking you in the eyes and swearing they never would? Let me know in the comments. Let your voice be part of this healing too. Because stories like this, our stories, deserve to be heard. And if you're still standing after everything, you're already more powerful than you know.